Hey, customers. I'm here with Rick Ives, known filmmaker, works for done some Marvel projects. He's also got his own movie coming out. It's on Tubi, Amazon, Google Play. It's called Solid Rock Trust. Randy and I both had a good time enjoying this movie. How you doing tonight, Rick?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Hey, I got to tell you though, the bathroom needs to be checked back there.
Okay.
Get that
Randy, I think
cleaned
that's
up.
your job, man. You gotta get on that.
I'll get right on that.
So like I said, Randy and I both enjoyed your movie, Solid Rock Trust. I think we
Thank
should,
you.
yeah, of course. Looks like you did a lot of work on it. You're the writer, director, and editor on this project.
Yeah, and I cleaned the bathrooms on that one too. By
Gotcha.
the way.
Okay.
That's your responsibility.
Got it. So Randy, if you have this trailer queued up, let's take a look at this here so the customers can see.
They're here.
Who's here?
All of them.
The walk on the beach is next week. Do you have everything? All clear codes, flash drives? Think about it. Imagine a job where nobody has the full story. Hi, Niels, it's me. Pema, what is it? Something wrong? Just wait for the signal. Oui? You may call me Sacagawea.
Very funny. How do you expect me to keep up when you keep running in a different direction?
Have a little perspective for once.
You know what? This still gives me bad vibes not knowing who I'm doing a job with, especially when you're only a voice on the phone.
She is off the rails.
Maddie.
I knew it from the beginning. I didn't like her and you insisted. This is your first job, right?
Assuming I make it out here alive.
Are you still over there in position?
So, you already sound like my next girlfriend.
Things are getting a bit more complicated, I'm afraid.
Now you don't sound like my last girlfriend.
We are not drilling a safe.
Then why am I looking at a drill in 8 giant empty duffel bags right now?
Can you just try to understand? We are not here by accident.
Maddie?
The alarm must have locked up the
Maddie,
system.
you're gonna want to see this.
What is it?
They're here.
Who's here?
All of them. Coming down the hall! We got company!
Carmen, you are not doing this to me.
I'm doing this for you.
You know, the strangest part, Solid Rock Trust is one of the only 2 banks in this state that holds money from the multi-state lottery.
Yeah, well, today I make my own luck.
What are you gonna do when you're all alone, with nowhere left to run?
Whoa, that looks intense.
Yeah. So about how long was your shoot? Like, what was the shoot time for this?
We shot this movie in 11 days.
Yeah. I mean, you do have pretty much always that one set, right? So that has to help a lot with budgetary
cheating
concerns.
a little bit. A lot of times on the bigger movies, they'll shoot like 2, 3, maybe 4 pages in a day.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of indie movies will shoot like 9 to 10 pages in a day. So we did it pretty quick. One of our days, the biggest was like 22 pages.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot.
So we shot real fast, but like you said, it's cheating a little bit because we didn't have any moves or big cast to deal with, and we had a pretty small crew. So it went really fast. Obviously, she was well rehearsed, so she knew exactly what she was doing.
Yeah. She was impressive, being able to switch between the different characters pretty well, like doing the different phone calls. I thought that was well done.
Everyone said that so far. Isn't her,
yeah.
is she great with those accents?
Yeah, and switching between,
wild.
Especially in that opening where it's like constant calls, like everybody's calling back to back.
And it's not a trick, it's not like we just cut and then started shooting a new scene. She does it, and we wanted to show you that,
Yeah, well, that opening's a pretty intense long take, correct? Like you did that all in one shot where she's switching. So
that was the idea, was to show that she really can do this and settle you in with this character.
Yeah, you did a great job showing that for sure. So what was like an inspiration for this movie for you?
Let's see, like other movies that were inspirations.
Yeah, I mean, well, we had talked about Buried.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about Buried tonight, right?
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit. I could definitely see a little similarity there, where you have the one character in the one situation, in the one spot most of the time, right? So
yeah, I really like that movie. There's another one called Locke, which is Tom Hardy. I don't know if you've seen that one.
I have seen that one as well. Yes,
he's in a car the whole time on the phone. So we call this a contained thriller, I guess. If it was a TV episode, it'd be a bottle episode.
Yeah.
But originally, I wrote this as a short right out of college because I was thinking of what could I shoot in my apartment, and came up with this idea of a person with a whole bunch of cell phones and why would you need to do that. I always like bank heist movies, so I kind of mixed those ideas together. But I could never get the short under like 20, 25 pages, which is really long for a short film.
Yeah.
Right. You're not going to get into a lot of festivals with that unless it's superb. So eventually I was like, this just should be a feature. So I wrote it out, and I had been editing. I work in post-production usually. I had been editing indie features with this company out in California, and I pitched it to them like, hey, this is an original idea. And they backed me on it and helped me out to get it done. And that was it, man. So it's kind of like a long process of, a mix. It's something that's cheap, but something that I think we could achieve. And it's also taking this idea of a contained thriller. I looked at a lot of those to figure out what could be exciting, even though it's just one person. And hopefully you come away with that at the end of the movie. You tell me, like, you kind of forget that, dang, I can't believe I just watched an hour and a half and it was just one person on a phone.
Yeah, that takes a lot of skill to get through that, like to have only one character in one setting and not have your audience get bored,
Right. Exactly.
If you don't like keep them enthralled, it can really just be like, what am I doing here? What's going on, But she does a great job, and your writing was well done, and it just really worked well, I thought. So
yeah, thank you. I knew it was going to be a tough sell, because you're right, having one person in a room and nothing else is tough, man. It's tough. So we were throwing everything we could at it, between camera angles, and the accents were part of that, and having a twist or a turn, every few minutes, where something flips and, oh, maybe it's not what you thought it was anymore. We're just trying to throw as much of that as we can at it, and then obviously making it look as professional and high quality as we can.
Yeah, I mean, the quality on it was great.
Music and everything.
Yeah, I mean, you did an awesome job. I guess for doing the editing side of everything, your time working with Marvel must have definitely come in handy. Like, those are massive projects you've had to work on, and having something that's all just you, having that crunch on it yourself had to be there,
Yeah. So I've been working for Marvel for 6-7 years. My first one was Thor #3, and then I got into the Avengers movies, and since then it's been pretty much exclusively Marvel stuff. Thankfully, when I have breaks, I can do stuff like this, and it teaches you a lot watching the real pros work and being a part of that. And then what we did was really the same thing. It's just much smaller scale. We didn't have as nice catering, but it's not that much different.
Yeah. So like you said, you've been working for Marvel for about 7 years now. And were you working on VFX side as well, or just the editing?
I have done VFX in the past, but with Marvel, I've done dailies. So that's the guys that process all the footage at night after they shoot during the day.
Yeah.
So that's what I was doing on the Avengers movies, and then I switched over to editorial. So I'm not an editor on the Marvel stuff. I'm an assistant editor. But I'm there, working on footage every day, depending on what they shot. And as soon as they're done shooting, usually I move on to the next one.
Gotcha. So just a very standard question of like, what really got you into filmmaking, man? Like, what brought you into this world?
I'm probably just like you guys. I just loved movies when I was a kid, and spent a lot of time doing that. And it's always been the dream to work in it in some fashion, whatever it is. So I went to school to do that, and, that was always the goal. So that's kind of what I, kept the eye on the whole time. I didn't always know I wanted to do editing. I kind of gravitated towards that in college when I realized I liked that piece of the process. But it's kind of a blessing that I can do that for real and be getting paid, well enough to pay my bills, and then also have time to do the creative side of it too in doing a project like this one.
Do you think with more time you'll find yourself doing more writing and directing?
Yeah, I started writing screenplays years ago because I thought it would make me a better editor. Right.
Okay.
So it's sort of a exercise on my own time to just see why films are constructed the way they are, and why scenes are happening in certain orders, and what makes good characters and what makes good pacing. Since then, it's gotten easier and easier to do. So I've got 4 or 5 more scripts that we could shoot. Various budgets from $10,000 to $2 million, depending on who we find.
Who can
out with the next one.
Yeah. Totally get you on that. So you do have some projects lined up, I guess, that you're trying to get the funding for.
Yeah, I have stuff that I'd like to do,
Mhm.
and we're kind of waiting to see how this does and what kind of return we get back before we can pull the trigger on one of those. But yeah, hopefully, I mean, I usually get a couple months off a year, between projects.
Mhm.
So there's no reason I couldn't spend 2 of those weeks shooting something else and then, working on it in my spare time and releasing it.
Yeah. So you do get like those couple months off, but when you are on project, is it just like constant like work after like just you
Yeah,
hear
it's
all the
tough.
time about the crunch that those Marvel movies have and um how the VFX and all that can how much they ride their team, let's put it that way. Like
Yeah, and it's not just Marvel. Actually, Marvel's been really good in
Mhm.
that respect because they try not to work you so hard. It's more of a machine, man. They just know they have deadlines and there's going to be more deadlines. So we just
Mhm.
want to think ahead to try to be proactive on a lot.
Mhm.
But I'm in the editors union
Okay.
and like many people, and a lot of times our contracts are 10-hour days. So if you're not used to 10-hour days, then that might seem like a lot.
Mhm.
My particular position is kind of lucky in that it's not always so stressful as like say the editors or even the first assistant editors.
Mhm.
Partly because I'm off the project when they stop shooting, not necessarily, all the way until it's airing or being released. That's when the real crunch is happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet like you have all that right at the end there where you need to get it out and go. And I saw in your IMDb that you worked on Miss Marvel.
Yep.
That was a depending on who you talk to was a hit or miss for
Oh,
quality
okay.
of a show, but I was a big fan of it myself.
Yeah, I
Um,
love it or hate it.
Mhm.
Marvel has a real thing going, which is it's fun, it's funny, there's some
Yeah.
action, but the stakes aren't so high that you're that scared.
Mhm.
It's pretty family friendly. You know what you're getting into when you click over to watch a show or go into the theater to watch one of the movies. And for my money, none of it's really bad. Some of it's not as good as other Marvel projects, but that's
Yeah.
just because there's some that are so good.
Mhm.
I enjoy all of them.
Yeah, me as well. I think the worst Marvel movie is still better than a lot of stuff that comes out nowadays.
Right. We're not naming any
Like,
names, but
yeah. But you know how it is. It's just like there's always the people online that you'll never make happy at the end of the day,
Yeah, that's
And-
true. As soon as you have an audience big enough, there's going to be people who don't like it. So.
Yeah. I did see for your upcoming projects, are you working on Guardians 3? Is that right?
Worked. Yeah,
Oh, you
I
worked.
did.
Yeah, I mean, because that's May, correct?
Yeah, so I'm on actually a couple projects since we shot that, and then I also worked on Guardians Christmas special. If you saw that one,
Oh yeah, of
that
course.
was a fun one.
Loved
They
it.
shot those. They shot those at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, because they have everybody together, so you might as well. So yeah, back to your film. We should really talk more about you, man.
That's fine.
And that, like I said, I'll get distracted with the Marvel stuff. Your film, like I said, was very enjoyable. It's great.
Yeah, tell me what you guys thought of it.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought it was a lot of fun. Like I said, it's hard to do that concept of one character in one setting, and if you don't have the right person on camera and the right story, it
Mhm.
can drag. And you did a good job casting who you had, and the writing of it was well done. So you don't ever feel bored. There was very much like a what's going to happen with this heist, how we're going to get to the end here, what's going to go on.
Right.
And I'm a sucker for a good heist movie. I know Randy is as well.
I
So,
enjoyed this one as
yeah.
well. It kept you watching all the way to the end. Like it didn't just stop and it all the way to
Mhm.
the end. There was always
Right.
like the parts moving still, and
Right.
even after the credits, it's still like it's like okay, like this. It's you could tell there was some good writing. It was good direction, and I really enjoyed it as well.
Yeah.
You also never see a movie from the angle of the guy in the chair.
Right. Exactly.
It's always like like another movie would be just the heist itself. You would cut back to her,
Yeah.
every once in a while, but it would be all about the people in the bank. And to see this different side of it was a great concept.
Seeing her talk to all the different people and the different
Mhm.
voices, and they're
Right.
all moving parts, and she's just sitting in the back. And like you said, we don't always get to see that. It's always action packed in the bank and yelling and guns and shooting, but this was a cool perspective, a different perspective to that for sure.
Right. And even on this story, you know, there's another movie that happens in the bank. You know, we could have made that movie too. You know,
Oh, yeah.
There's enough going on, and then it would be flipped where you don't really know who you're talking to on the phone because that's their experience, right? But part of it was the experiment of, could we have all those things that you would see in a bank heist movie, except we're not going to see them. We're just going to hear them. Would it still be the same experience? Would you still care about those characters when they're in danger, even if you've never seen their faces? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Have you thought about shooting a sequel to this from the angle of the bank heist?
It wouldn't be. No, it wouldn't be the angle of that, because I feel like those movies are out there. You know, you can watch those already. That's not what this one was. I do have more in mind. You know, if we went down that road, at least 2 or 3.
Okay.
It's kind of a setup that works like across multiple times. You know, you just need a cool heist idea, and then who's orchestrating it and from what location, you know, and we could play with that 100 different ways, I think.
Yeah, and keep going. I mean, your character is, you know, maybe still out there depending on don't want to spoil too much, but
yeah,
you know, you could definitely do some things with her still and keep her around. I mean, I would. She's a great actress, so I would.
She is great, right?
Yeah.
So she's actually been the lead in a couple indie features that you should go check out.
Okay.
One just came out last year. She's been in a horror movie called The Perfect Host. There's some good stuff out there. She's really great.
Okay, for sure. We'll have to get into that, Randy. Check that stuff out for sure. Let's see. What else do we have to cover?
So Buried.
We could do Buried a little bit. Yeah. So
a little inspiration.
Yeah, you could definitely see the inspiration with Buried there, and like you said, Locke, having that one setting thing.
So have you guys seen Buried before?
You know, yeah. I had not seen it before watching it this time. I'd always seen the trailer and stuff, but never watched it actually. I did enjoy this. Brian Reynolds can act. This is one of those things that, you know, I think at this point he was still kind of the goofy guy at 2010.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and now it's to the point where he's kind of like always Ryan Reynolds. I think he's getting some feedback on that. You know, people aren't always happy that it's the same thing over and over again. But if you want a Ryan Reynolds movie to remind you why he is who he is, check this one out because it's so great.
Yeah, for sure. So this did give you some inspiration for your movie. I find that really interesting to have that concept be the same. Just to get into Buried a little bit more, I'm guessing you saw it when it first came out, or
maybe a year or so after.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely remember not seeing this in theaters. I watched it later.
Okay. And is there something specific that just really draws you to this movie?
I really like these kind of real contained thrillers anyways. There's a handful of them out there, more than what we just talked about. And whenever something pops up on Netflix or Prime or whatever, that's like one person stuck in a room, I'm such a sucker, man. I gotta click. I gotta see.
Okay. So that's kind of like your genre that you'll go for. Like,
I mean, I watch a lot of stuff, but this one, for some reason, always pulls me back in. Cube. You ever seen the Cube series? The same kind of thing.
No, I don't think I have.
That's like a sci-fi series where there's a group of people stuck in a room. But this one to me is like the granddaddy of people in a room movies, because it's like he can't even walk. He's not even moving. He's literally laying down in a box for the whole movie. And it's still so tense. It just grabs you the whole time. It's never boring. In fact, it's so claustrophobic. That's one thing we didn't have going for us, was the person being in danger like he is. But what did you think about that? Did you feel that sense of danger pretty much from the first minute?
Definitely. That claustrophobic feeling is always something that gets me. We watched Cabinets of Curiosity for the podcast, and there's that rat episode. I don't know if you've seen it, where he's like,
I haven't watched that series yet. I want to.
He gets like stuck in this tunnel, and it's just like, there's that claustrophobic feeling. If you can do that, you can really make your audience feel something.
Right.
Know? And they do a good job with that in Buried. The ending of Buried is also...
It's like getting kicked in the nuts.
God, right? It is brutal. It's like right when you think maybe there's going to be something good here, they pull the rug right out from under you.
Right.
And really get you.
I really like that. the thing that these movies can do that not a lot of other movies can do is where you make the smallest things really important and so difficult. Like there's a scene I just rewatched it in the last day or two, where he's just trying to reach the cell phone that's at his feet, but he can't because the coffin is too small.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, in any other movie, picking up a cell phone is nothing. But right now, we're gonna spend 2 minutes like, oh, it's excruciating just to get that into your fingertips. And you can explore all kinds of stuff like that. That's what I was trying to do. And that's what they were doing. I think it's fantastic. It's really great for suspense and something different.
I enjoyed how they used the phone in the movie with the battery usage and how it just slowly counting down, and you can kind of keep track, like, okay, this is how much time has gone by. And oh my God, they wanted him to record the video and the flashlight, the snake. It was
great lighting too, right? Because you've got lighter, you got a flashlight, you got the phone, and you got a couple of those glow sticks.
The glow sticks, almost so like lit on fire. It was pretty
smart because they knew the same thing. Like if you watch somebody sit here with one lighting condition for the whole thing, it's boring. But
right.
Even with a person in a coffin, they figured out 4 different ways to light this. That's super interesting to watch. You could sit there with the flame flickering on someone's face for 15 minutes of this movie. That's it. That's all it is.
Yeah, they definitely used the space very wisely and very creatively for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we were talking about reaching for the cell phone. You also have a reaching for the cell phone scene in your movie.
It's the same. I tried to find lots of like times in this where even though it's just a person in a room, there's something tense going on. Whether she's like marking up, paper or writing down phone numbers, or I don't want to spoil it for anyone who's going to watch it, but we do take away her mobility, a couple times throughout the movie where man, it just seems like the thing you need to do is so easy to do, but you just can't for some reason. For me, that was kind of her character. Was she's not in the bank, so all she can do, her power is to just convince people. She can talk her way out of anything, and we really have to take that away from her at times when she can't talk herself out of this one, or she's trapped with not being able to do anything except listen or except hold very still, or it's wild.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about somebody who they have to be a character that can like basically manipulate people to do what she wants just by their voice. You need someone with solid charisma to be that character too, to make that happen. Was it always the plan for the accents to always be those, or did you kind of work with your actress there to figure out like, hey, what are you good at doing? Like,
good question.
Kind of go from there.
I threw the accents in as something that would be interesting, just to add to the fact that it's a person sitting in a chair. I remember I had seen a couple of videos of people teaching how to do different accents, and it's so wild watching people change that quickly. Or when you see an actor real well as American, like in the movies, and then you see them in an interview and whoa, hold on a second, it's almost a different person.
I remember the first time with Christian Bale, like,
hold on a second, he's not American.
It was Bruce Wayne, and it was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like that
totally
big change.
I wanted to achieve that. So yes, it was written in the script, and I had a couple different there. But when she came, when she flew in on the first day, she was like, hey, so I was thinking, can I do I have like a couple more accents. Could I change some of these into different ones? So I had like, I think 3, maybe 4 through over the course of the movie. And she added, I think 2. So it turned into even more just because she could do it,
Yeah. So it was always the same ones that you had originally started with, and then she added her own as well, or did you also need to kind of work and find like,
no, she could do the ones.
French one, like
no, she could do the ones already. The French was already in there, and there were French dialogue at some points. She just knew all that. She speaks 3 languages already.
Gotcha.
And then she added a couple more, because at some point I started doubling up accents. Because I was like, I'm never going to find anybody who could do all these. I might as well just pick 3 or something like that. But she really could. So,
we got to find somebody that could do them and well. Like, it can't just be like.
Yeah. Well, that was part of the casting process. I'm looking for someone who can do accents. I'm looking for someone who can, be comfortable with not acting off of other actors and someone who can, hold the screen even when there's not that much for them to do.
Yeah.
And we felt like we found that. And then I called her ahead of time because we actually did a casting call before COVID. And then because of COVID, we postponed for a year. So I always had her in mind. And when I was ready to make the offer, I called and let her know what I was thinking for this movie. And if she was okay with, doing something like this. And can she cry? Can you do accents? And can you cry? Because those are the things I need. And she did both. Fantastic, of course.
Yeah. I mean, she does a great job. And like we said, she was switching so well. It is crazy to see somebody use their talent like that. And, there's not that stop. There's not the big editing break, like trying to show her switching. It's just that long take and keep going, just
it's
keep
not
going.
A trick. That's what I want people to realize.
Yeah. I mean, was it difficult? It had to be difficult to find somebody that good. You must have put out a pretty extensive casting call for it, or
I mean,
we get lucky.
I forget what the website is that we use. There's a couple out there that do them. I think I got lucky. I probably looked at a few hundred people and then maybe had 30 actually come in and read. And she was one of those. So
yeah. So a little bit in between, looked at a lot, but you found somebody good and you go with them,
Right. I didn't realize how much of a risk you put on someone. You ask them to do these things and carry the movie that you wrote. And it could be scary to pick somebody who's a stranger and you don't know if you're going to work together well, or if they can be counted on to show up on time or know their lines. And she did all those things. It's also scary, I realize, for the actor when people talk about, oh, I could do that. It's not that hard what they do. It really is.
Yeah.
When you're there with 25, 50, 100 people standing around waiting for you to now be the center of attention and get this right. It's tough. And as an actor, signing onto a project that you have no idea who this director is, you don't know, especially in our case, it's just they want to fly me out to Georgia from California for 2-3 weeks and just see what happens.
Yeah. So you did film this in Georgia?
Yeah, we actually found a place just a couple miles from my house, that location. So that was a real abandoned building that we got permission to use for 3 weeks. And 98% of the set was there already. So we didn't do anything.
Yeah, you just got to walk in there and kind of get going. That's
I brought in a desk. I set up the computer monitors and stuff, for her to play with, and the rest was as is pretty much.
Well, that's pretty interesting, actually. That's kind of a trip because it's perfect for what you had it for.
It looks legit, right?
Yeah.
It's fresh and it's dirty and old and sweaty, and it was sweaty in real life too, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I figure as much in Georgia, right?
Yeah.
So you're located in Georgia. I mean, guess most Marvel things are done in Atlanta or in that area, right?
Yeah, I think they split pretty well between Georgia and London, and then they'll do 1, maybe 2 a year in Australia. Maybe 1 a year. So a lot of it gets done out here, especially the Disney Plus stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you always see that Georgia peach at the end of the credits now in a lot of films. A lot of the industry.
There's a big tax write-off here, and I moved out here from LA actually to work on those movies, and then just never left because there's so much work, less competition out here for myself.
Gotcha. Well, Randy, do you have any other questions?
Ask Randy. I know you got a good one.
Randy's got stuff.
I was just curious, what do you like more, whether it was editing or VFX? I saw you got some VFX editing under your belt, and then you got some.
Yeah, the VFX stuff is weird. That was I was helping out with a product that was going on to set. You guys might like this. It was called NCAM. So technically it fell under VFX, which is why I got those credits. But the idea is this little mini camera attaches to the main camera. And then as the main camera moves, it's keeping track of whatever movement it's doing, or zooming or booming, or whatever it is. And it can put in digital environment real time. So if you ever watch NFL Monday Night Football, you see them fly over the field, and there's numbers. There's numbers on the field. And they look like they're glued to the, even though they're not there. That's the NCAM.
Okay.
So they started getting into it on films, and they can do that with the green screen. So, usually the characters stand there and they're like, "Oh, look, a spaceship." Just imagine. But with this technology, they can see it live on the monitors, what it would really look like, especially if it's animating like a spaceship. Yeah, but here's landing, and now it's set down, and now you can walk, up to it.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean that has to make everything a lot easier on those kind of films where you can get an idea of what you're actually working with.
And then right when I was about to leave for this job that I took out in Georgia, we were just experimenting with an LED wall where you could blast all this stuff up instead of a green screen. And then the movement would track. So kind of like a video game camera. So the background would move depending on where the camera was, right?
Yeah.
And one of the tests that we had done was a big secret test. Who's coming in, and we set it all up for them, and then they walk in, and it's a bunch of stormtrooper helmets.
Oh,
that's how they got the Mandalorian a couple months later.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't the big LED wall I forget exactly what it's called, but that's what they use for.
That's crazy.
The Mandalorian and stuff now.
That's it. It may be the future of filmmaking. I don't know
for
yet,
sure.
But
yeah, I mean, it's got to be very helpful for your cast that they can actually kind of see what's going on.
And there's no visual effects to do later,
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, it's all there.
So I do have a credit on the Mandalorian in dailies. I never got to go to set for that show, but I had friends who were there, and they tell me when you're sitting in the cockpit of one of those spaceships, looking out at this LED, wall, it looks like you're in space, and then you go to light speed. It's like, incredible.
Yeah, like that's awesome. That'd be cool just to see that one time,
I know.
Just be there.
Just sit there and let it happen to you.
Yeah. Let's see. Trying to think what else I had written down about your movie, man.
Guys, let me ask you, what do you think about the music? The score.
Yeah, I thought the music was a good choice. I liked what you had done with it all, really.
So that's all a guy named Joey Westerlin. I found him on Reddit actually. And he scored my whole movie, and he was fantastic. He did all of it himself, and he would write like 10 or 15 minutes a week. It was crazy.
It definitely adds to the mood and tension for sure. I definitely can appreciate that. Otherwise, it would just be quiet.
Yeah. Then you got really
it's
hard
almost
time.
Like you want that music to play in the same way it would be playing if you're watching the other movie in the bank.
Oh yeah,
so intense, and there's gunfights going on and stuff, but you're only hearing it.
Yeah,
it puts you in that place, but you're still seeing only the back end of things. But
right.
Yeah. It was very well done, very well produced and written.
Yeah, can't compliment you enough, man. I think what you did is
thank you.
An exceptional thing to do, especially you're a man wearing many hats on this on this film. Being a writer, director, and editing it. That's a lot for one person to do, and I think you did a fantastic job with it. I can see why you have that 8.6 IMDb rating right now on your project.
It's doing pretty good. It's hard when you're first getting it out there, because most of the people watching it are your friends and your family, and they're like, "Oh, it's so good," but you don't really know.
Yeah, you got to take everything with that grain of salt. Okay, sure.
So as we've gotten more of an audience out there, it's been real rewarding to see people respond to it very well. Still trying to get that audience a little bit bigger, because we want to make something else, but that's why I'm talking to you guys. So tell your friends. If you guys watch it, if you're listeners, check it out. Make sure to try to leave me a good review on either Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb.
We will definitely be passing out this film, telling people to check it out, that kind of thing. That'll be the next step in our process with you here. Well, Rick, it was nice having you on. We do really appreciate you coming on, being our first guest for this new side project show. Everybody check out Rick Ives and check out Solid Rock Trust. You can find it pretty much anywhere. Amazon, Google Play, Tubi. Rick, is there anything else I'm missing there?
There will be more platforms coming soon. I think it launches on YouTube, with ads in June. So if you're watching this then, it might be available there. And then it's supposed to go to a couple other places here soon. But
Yeah. Well, it's awesome, man. And like I said, we do a dope, nope, or I as our rating system for our podcast. I'm definitely giving this one a dope.
Yeah, I give this one a dope for sure.
So,
sweet. Thank you.
yeah.
What do you give Buried?
Dope.
Dope as well.
Also
Yeah.
dope. Oh, yeah, nice.
You picked a good one for us to check out.
Yeah, you definitely picked a good one.
Both Randy and I were like, oh, could definitely see why he wants to watch this.
Yeah, I was trying to think of something.
Yeah.
You know, the other one I suggested to you, which you should still check out, is 12 Angry Men. Have you seen that movie before?
Yeah. You're talking about the older movie about about the jury. Yes.
Yeah. That's like let's watch this in high school movie because it's so classic.
Exactly. Yeah. Actually, that's where I watched it. Law and Justice class. That's where that on in there. So
I took a lot of inspiration from that one too, though. The whole idea of still being stuck in a room, but it's real intense, and you get to know the characters real well over the course of 90 minutes. And even though it's sort of a real-time movie, you feel like you've gone on this journey with them because you've found out so much about different types of people they are and stuff.
Well, that's really a lot more characters to have bounce off each other as well. Like in your film, there's more going on with more characters for them to all interact, and you get all these different relationships over, even if it's just over the phone.
Right,
you're getting all these different relationships between these characters that you have.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, Rick, it was nice to have you on. We really appreciate you coming on. We'll definitely be spreading the word to everybody about your project here. And customers, thanks as usual for stopping by the cinema store.
Yeah, nice. Thank you.